Do you have a customer avatar or a buyer persona for your brand? Have you sat down and worked through and created customer avatars? Now, a lot of people know what customer avatars are or buyer personas because it's been a word that's been like going around for quite a bit now. It's been maybe a few years since people started talking about customer avatars and things like that. But it is shocking how many businesses, how many brands don't really have customer avatars established and customers avatars leading their kind of brand strategy or their marketing strategy, their campaigns, their investment in advertising and so on and so forth. I mean, even the bigger brands out there, brands that have a lot of budget set aside for advertising, for marketing, even big brands don't have customer avatars nailed down. I mean, yes, they do have what kind of a demographic, right? So they do have details about who their target audience is or their target market is, but it is very generic. It is very kind of almost, how would you say, a big kind of silo, right? And all their customer kind of target audience fits into that silo. And then that silo is used for all their marketing campaigns. Okay, so why do you need a customer avatar? Why do you need a buyer persona? Because if you look at your target audience, if you look at your target market, if you look at your customers, not everyone is the same, right? You have little groups, little clusters within your entire kind of market segment, in your customer segment. You find little clusters that are different from each other. Their lifestyles are different, their psychology is different, the psychographics are different, and their motivation to buy whatever it is that you're selling, your service or your product, is entirely different because of the way they think, because of their requirements, because of why they're buying this product or service. And so if you don't understand these psychographic differences, and if you don't communicate based on that psychographic kind of path, then how are you going to sort of make an effective kind of bond or a kind of a relationship with each of these clusters? Okay, let's look at it from a different perspective. Let's imagine that what most people think of, most brands think of their target audience is like almost like, let's say there are 1,000 people out there. They're already with credit cards in their hands, and they are maybe there's one big central laptop, and they're all standing there and they're all trying to purchase at the same time. That's not really how it works in the real world. In the real world, what you have is one or maybe two, if there are a couple or friends or whatever, sitting in front of the laptop, and they are then sort of researching, they're looking through, they're trying to find the best option for your product or service, and then they're making the purchase. So if you then look at this, imagine the scenario of these 1,000 people, right, of what you perceive as is happening, then most brands imagine themselves to be on that rooftop, right, with a megaphone addressing these 1,000 people and then saying, okay, communicating whatever message that their brand has, right? Would that work? No. What you need to do is actually communicate with this one or two people sitting in front of the laptop, right? And who are now maybe researching, and then they come upon your brand. You need to communicate just with that person. That person. So that is where customer avatar comes into play, the buyer persona. So a customer avatar is this one single person, he or she, who actually is going to buy your product or service. You need to identify that single person, you need to understand that single person, and you need to communicate to that person so that the sale happens. You need to really reframe the kind of mindset about target audience and target market. It's not these thousands of people standing out there with their credit cards in hand and who are going to buy your products. No, it is this single person in front of the laptop, or even if it's a brick and mortar, even if they're walking into your store, it is this single person. That is whom you need to target. So how do you create this customer avatar? Now, a lot of business owners, a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of brand owners think that they know their audience, that they know their target market. And probably that's probably a fact, it's probably a fair fact. But most of the time it's an assumption, because when you have a broad kind of segment, then you don't really know your target audience. To begin building a customer avatar or a buyer persona where, just to give you a little bit of perspective, you could have more than one customer avatar. In fact, you would have more than one customer avatar. But you need to have different customer avatars so you can communicate differently with each of these. But you need to have one primary customer avatar. Always focus on one person, one. Don't be afraid that you're gonna leave money on the table if you just focus on one person, and all the other 999 people out there, they will not be buying your product or service. No, it doesn't happen like that, because all those 999 people out there are individuals. They're each one person. And when a sale happens, it is happening at one person. It's happening with one person, right? So don't be afraid to focus on one avatar. Once you have your primary avatar, then you can have a secondary, a tertiary kind of avatar or persona, and you can have different messaging targeted at different avatars, and then you have to have different campaigns. So to really create this avatar, you need to dig deep and understand what motivates people to buy your product or service. Put yourself in their shoes, right? I don't know, let's talk about a camera, a digital camera, right? Okay, I know this is probably not a great example, but I love photography, so I will take that example and try and explain so that you can see it from my perspective. Okay, so let's say you're selling a digital camera, a DSLR or a mirrorless camera. It's probably priced at, I don't know, the $1,500 mark, right? That's quite a chunk of money. Now, if you think that you're targeting all photographers out there, right? It could work, but I think it's better if you actually sort of narrow it down to say, who is this person who best fits this camera, right? So if it's a camera that is semi-professional and it is for the enthusiast, is someone who has some expendable cash, is someone who probably has a good job and who travels and therefore, goes and takes photos and so on and so forth. And it's someone who would appreciate the feel of the camera more than purely the technical aspects. So immediately you are sort of, your messaging, your strategy, sort of changes, right? So you're now looking at a lifestyle. There's a person who has a decent job, who has an expendable kind of cash lying around maybe a little bit, and who loves to travel and who loves to take photos, not as a professional, but someone who thinks he's a professional, even though their photos not going to see the light of day. And so that actually helps you communicate features in an emotional way, right? So you start then talking about the lifestyle. You start talking about travel, about maybe travel as couples, and how this camera is lightweight but still has all those tech specs and blah blah blah. Do you see where I'm going with this? So instead of just talking about the tech specs of the camera, you also start communicating with that particular person. Give them a name. Mash. Yeah, me. I am that avatar. Mash is the CEO of an agency, loves to travel and travels with his wife thrice a year to exotic places, and loves to take photographs, loves street photography, but is not for professional sense, and loves his equipment in terms of gadgets, but not just for the sake of gadgets, but how they make him feel. So yeah, give your avatar a name. Okay, MASH, so, blah, 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 all that. Okay, let's take another example to sort of look at it from a different perspective. Let's say that you sell, I don't know, coaching services. Okay, so you are a business coach. You coach people, maybe startups, founders, entrepreneurs. You coach them on putting this kind of business together, launching it, the financial aspect, maybe the logistics, so on and so forth. So you're a business coach. You're someone who coaches others build their businesses. It'll be easy to be tempted to think that you target all entrepreneurs. Yes, of course, you're a business coach, and all entrepreneurs are businessmen, businesswomen, and they are trying to launch their business. But then, if you just look at it like that and say, okay, I'm going to be targeting all entrepreneurs. So most of my messaging will be, hello entrepreneurs. Well, you might not be saying that, but this is how it would be. This is how it would come out. Hi entrepreneurs, or hi business people. You're trying to launch a business. You're trying to build a business, and I have a lot of experience helping people build businesses. I have built businesses. I have launched businesses. So therefore, come to me and I will help you. Okay, pretty decent, right? Not bad. It's not a terrible pitch. But imagine if you dig deep and start looking at who is it that you can help? Who is it that really interests you? Start from there. Start from your perspective, the brand perspective, the core of the brand perspective. Because if you look at it from that perspective, then your passion will come into play, right? So let's say I'm a business coach and I like to help people in the financial sector, right? Maybe. Not me. I don't actually like financial sector, but let's just say, okay? And when I say I don't like the financial sector, I mean because I'm so bad with finances and things like that. But anyway, let's just suppose, is a hypothetical example. So I would love to help entrepreneurs launching fintech companies, let's say. Now, I've narrowed it down even further. And let's say I've worked with one particular entrepreneur in the past, and I've got great success with that guy, and maybe he represents the kind of ideal person that I would like to work with. So in this case, his name was Chris. So I'm looking at Chris, and I helped Chris launch a fintech company. Went from strength to strength, and then he was able to sell that and exit, blah, blah, blah. Now imagine if I created my avatar around Chris. Chris is someone who has been in the financial sector for a long time. He worked managing hedge funds and then decided to do his own thing. Came up with a kind of an application that was a go-between the hedge fund brokers and consumers, and he wanted to build a business around that. Now, if I have a narrow focused customer avatar just like that, Chris, now my marketing message is not out there. It's not for all entrepreneurs, entrepreneurs in the financial sector, or, it's not. It's very, very laser-like focus. I'm looking at Chris. I want to work with Chris. People like Chris. So my message is, hey, Chris, I know you're struggling to sort of take your experience that you have managing, a billion-dollar hedge fund with this big financial institution, and translate that into whatever service or product that you're trying to launch now. I understand that. I've been there. I've done that. I've worked with people just like you. Now, what if I helped you get over that bump, that kind of transition that you're having, working with this huge multinational, multi-billion-dollar company where you were managing a portion of something, to launching your own thing where you are leading this kind of drive, and that transition, that bottleneck where you're struggling. What if I help you get across that? What if I can help you coach through that? See, the message is very personal. The message is quite targeted. It is laser-like. And Chris, when he hears that message, or anyone in Chris's position, Jessica, whatever, right? When they hear that message, there's a bond. There's an instant kind of relationship. There's an instant kind of connection. And your kind of marketing messages, your kind of marketing efforts, they make sense immediately, right? They're much more effective than trying to target this huge so-called target audience, right? You're not with a megaphone. It's almost like you're on the phone with someone. So when Chris reads, or whoever who fits Chris's customer avatar, when they read the messaging, or watch a video or whatever, whatever you're doing, it's very personal. They want to work with you. They are going to come to you. So now, I know I'm not talking about the specifics of creating a customer avatar, because I've written a lot of articles on that, and I don't want to, go through that, because it's something that you need to read, reflect, then read again, reflect, and so on. So I will leave a couple of links in this video, below this video, and these are, one is an article, in-depth article I wrote on buyer personas, and another one is customer avatar. Now, customer avatar and buyer personas are almost the same, and they are. In many instances, they are exactly the same, but then there are nuances. This might be slightly different differences depending on the market segment, depending on the kind of product or service, and so on and so forth. So read those two articles and message me, right? Leave comments if you have any questions specific to your situation. If you are trying to build a customer avatar, if you don't have a customer avatar, ask me questions, right? How do you go about doing that? Read those two articles. They're going to be very useful to you. And yeah, if you don't have a customer avatar, I'm telling you, today is the day you need to sit down. And in fact, today is Friday. So if it's Friday for you too, then Saturday, Sunday, shut yourself off and build customer avatars. Customer avatars is the best investment you would make in terms of time and effort for your marketing. Your marketing will thank you for that. Your revenue will thank you for that. If you don't have customer avatars and you're doing business, then I don't know what to say, right? Go on, get those customer avatars, buyer personas nailed down, and see the magic. In 6 months, you're going to be like thanking the day you watched this video. All right, till my next video, take care.